Good afternoon and welcome to another Texas Baptist Annual Meeting online workshop. Thank you for joining us. Since we're not able to gather in person this fall, we are bringing virtual workshops to you each week between now and November 16th and 17th, which are the dates of our Texas Baptist Annual Meeting business and celebration sessions. Our final workshop will premiere on Tuesday, November 17th. Please tune in each Tuesday at 2 p.m. for valuable insights from ministry leaders who are here to help you and your congregation. You can learn more about this and other workshops, as well as sign up for our annual meeting updates at txb.org/am. Again, that's txb.org/am. My name is Colleen Wall, and I serve as the Director of Conference and Event Planning here at Texas Baptist. I will serve as the moderator for today's workshop. Joining me for our workshop is Vanessa Lerma, the River Ministry Missionary with the Rio Grande Valley, Mario Alberto Gonzalez, the Director of River Ministry and Mexico Missions for Texas Baptist. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. Please note that participants will be muted throughout this presentation. For technical assistance only, text 214-773-8433. Again, for technical assistance only, text 214-773-8433, and we'll do our very best to try to help you. This workshop is being recorded and will be available on the annual meeting website at txb.org/am. At the conclusion of the teaching portion of this workshop, we invite you to join us for a brief Q&A with our presenters, Vanessa and Mario. Welcome, Vanessa and Mario. You're welcome to type your questions during the teaching portion by using the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Questions will only be seen by the host, and as time allows, the presenters will address as many questions as possible. Thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. So let's get started.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Lerma, and I serve as River Ministry Missionary in the Rio Grande Valley. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us today, and hope we can be able to share with one another regarding what ministries are happening along the border. It is a blessing to be able to serve alongside our churches and mission teams as we share the love of Christ in our communities. River Ministry Mexico Missions has served since 1967 along our borders from I want to say El Paso all the way to Brownsville on the state side, on the Mexico side, and it started because in 1967 when Hurricane Beulah hit, it left a lot of devastation, especially in the areas of Matamoros and the surrounding cities, Mexico side, and then also here on the state side. And so then, your love, your churches poured on us and just came and were helping us to be able to rebuild homes, rebuild churches, to be able to meet the needs of the families and be able to share God's love to them, because at that moment, the devastation was so large. And as years progressed, just a few months ago, Hurricane Hannah hit our area again. And it was not maybe as devastating as Hurricane Beulah, but I want to tell you something. The response of the families and churches of standing up and saying, I want to be able to help, was great. And we want to thank you, because families were able to restore some of their homes. Still late August, families still were having damages in their homes, and they are still struggling. Some of them having to deal with still cleaning their home, dealing with the distance learning, as you can imagine. And so they need prayer. Pray for us. Pray as families are still having to deal with that. But more so, one of the things that as we, Texas River Ministry, Mexico Missions, has been able to impact our communities has been in the areas of training, of Vacation Bible School, sports camps, children's ministry, construction, has just been overwhelming in the way of how mission teams have partnered with our local churches to be able to expand the kingdom and be able to share the gospel. And so I want to say thank you to that. And in doing so, I want to tell you a little bit. Back in 1967, when River Ministry started, it was along the border on the Texas side in Mexico. It was the Baptist churches partnering with the Baptist churches along the regionales, or what we now call associations on our state side. And so as churches would partner together, they would work and serve. Churches from the north would come down, mission teams, and they would also alongside and impacting our communities. And it was so great that we were able to expand our partnership with Mexico, not just along the border, but now into the interior of Mexico. So a lot of our mission teams as well have gone to several of our areas like El Bajío, like Oaxaca and Guadalajara, Mexico City, for example. I led several mission teams there as well. So there has been so many different opportunities where you've been able to partner with us as well and be a blessing to others. And one exciting news that I want to share with you is that not only have now we expanded to Mexico and along our border, but even the border between Tijuana and Baja California, which is exciting because we do have a church starter now at that area that has started churches, and we're excited about how those partnerships will look like in the future. And we have been as well blessed by, I want to say blessed because it is something different, it's new, and something that we probably never thought this would happen to our area, but that was receiving refugees from other countries. You know, can you imagine? I always thought growing up, I'm going to go as a missionary, but I want to go to Africa. I'm going to go to, I don't know, Central America and be able to do missions there. But instead, here, there were families coming to our border, and it was overwhelming because there were so many needs. And I want to share with you, I know that different, families have different stories, and no one has had the same experience perhaps, but I want to share a story of a family that I met while serving at the Respite Center in McAllen. I started serving there back in July of 2014, so it's been a while. And when I say that, it's because we thought this was only going to be a week's worth, maybe a month's worth, and here we are, 2020, and we're still serving refugees. Families arriving our border have made difficult decisions, and their journey has not been easy. A mom and her 14-year-old made it to our refugee respite center in McAllen. She was from El Salvador, and she was there with her 14-year-old son only. And as she entered our center and she sat down and started registering, the whole time she just kept crying, and she cried and cried and cried. And I was able to serve her by providing her with clean clothes so she could shower and get some rest. And in doing so, in one of these moments, I finally, as I sat with her and I asked her, what was wrong? Why was she crying? A lot of the families feel they're overwhelmed by different emotions because they left their country, they're now here. It's something that they don't expect, not knowing what to do. So I asked her, what is going on? What do you feel? What's the problem? And she says, I've just left my country, El Salvador. And the reason I left was because the Maras, we had a small business, and the Maras, the gangs, would come every week and they would ask for money. And so they would ask for money and we would give them the money, but as time progressed, the cost for a week of protection kept rising. And so then finally my husband said, you know what, I can't pay you because I can't afford, providing for my family. So then he said, no more. They killed him. And so the family was now mourning the death of her husband when, again, someone from the Maras came to her home and told her, if we're going to be here again at the end of the week and we're going to collect the money that we were expecting from your husband. If you don't have it, we will take your 14-year-old son with us. And so then she didn't have much time to think or to pack. She made the hardest decision that she had, was to leave the country. For her, the hardest was leaving the country, leaving her home, grieving still the death of her husband, but leaving 2 of her daughters. She couldn't afford to bring her, the rest of the family with her. So she had to decide, and so she only brought her 14-year-old son and left her 10-year-old daughter and 7-year-old daughter back home with her grandparents. And so it was difficult for her to be there. And she was very overwhelmed by emotions and the decision that she had to make. She says, I asked her then, why are you here? I mean, maybe, I don't know, there could have been something else maybe that could have been done. And she says, I'm mourning my husband's death. I am devastated by the decision that I had to make. It was a 21-day journey coming to the border, getting here to McAllen, and I would do it again. And she says, and the reason I would do it again is because she wanted her son to be able to be the man that God intended for him to be. It wasn't because it's the American dream. It wasn't because this was better for us. I'm gonna send money back home or whatever reasons you might think of. But it was because of that, because she knew that God had a purpose for her son, and it was not to join the Maras. It was not to be this child that was being put in the front of this danger. And so she made that decision. And like Mary, there are so many families that are seeking refuge from hard situations from their country. They come through Mexico in different ways. It may take them a week. It might take them longer. We have, spoken to families as we minister to them that have maybe, taken longer than a month, in their process. And so then one of the families, and it was interesting, they were from Eritrea. That's in Africa. I didn't even know where it was. And so I had to kind of look that up. And so they came from Eritrea. They traveled to Brazil, somehow made it there, made it through to Mexico, and ended up having to stay in Mexico for 3 months, in addition to her already travel time from Eritrea. And as she traveled to Mexico, she stayed in Mexico for 3 months. Her kids were at the center in McAllen, and they spoke 4 different languages. They spoke their dialect, they spoke French, they spoke Spanish, they already knew English by the time we were there. It was incredible. It's incredible to even come to understand what it is that they go through and what it is that they're here for. And they're here, and God, as I see, has protected them. And I see these women and men as very courageous. And we've been able to pray with them and just minister to them, love them, and provide their daily needs as they stay at the center. They're not there very long, but they do stay there for a restful moment where they are able to rest and call a family member and shower, get clean clothes, and be on their way, because there is a sponsor family that is waiting for them who will support them while they go through their court dates and so forth. Just last spring break, we saw 2,500 families, actually individuals, not families, but 2,500 people at our center go through the center within a week. And so volunteers were able to help with the distribution of the donations to them. They were able to help with the children and minister to them. For the families, a lot of these children, this is the first time they get to play again. They get to sit and be with, in a relaxed moment, because the whole time, there's so much stress within that journey coming here. And so some of the things that mission teams have been able to donate has been travel blankets, clothes, shoes, hygiene kits, and so forth. Families that we've been able to serve from different countries include from Central and South America, like El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras. We have served families, like I mentioned, from Eritrea, from Congo, from Romania. We had a family from China. Thanks to your donations and mission teams volunteering, we have been a blessing to so many families that not only have come through Bronzeville, Matamoros, McAllen, Reynosa, but also through other cities like Laredo, Piedras Negras, Del Rio, El Paso, and Ciudad Juárez. One evening, as I was walking out of the center, a little girl came up to me and hugged me. She tells me, "Debes de ser un ángel. You must be an angel." I said, "Why do you say that?" She says, "You clothed me, you fed me, you loved me." Matthew 25:40 says, "The king will reply, 'Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me.'" As we pursue God and seek his will, he will open opportunities for us to be able to share hope to the hopeless. And you've been part of that. You've been able to help with either volunteer hours because you came down and you were part of volunteering and serving the families one-on-one, or perhaps because you donated and you sent hygiene kits, clothes, or shoes or snacks for them to have. And so thank you for being a blessing. Last year, refugees and asylum seekers, after coming across the border, turning themselves in instead of being released, instead of waiting in courts here with that sponsor family, the laws changed. And so when I said last year in spring break, we had, we were serving like 2,500 people during that week alone. We now this spring break see a huge difference, because in the fall of last year, families where the laws changed for them. And so instead of having to wait in the state side, waiting maybe with their relative or their friend, maybe in Maryland or California or New York, now they were having to wait in Mexico. And so families were being taken to Matamoros or to other border sites areas, and they were just dropped off. Unfortunately, because they don't know anyone or they don't have any means or, to where to go to, people that were being dropped off in Matamoros started kind of, just grouping together, keeping each other safe and looking out for each other in the sense of, when is your court date and when do I come across and what do I need to do? And I don't know the city, and maybe the culturally it's so different. And so then here they sat basically right off the Rio Grande River in the area of the banks. There's I wouldn't call it a park, but maybe like a city area where some of the kids would go from Matamoros and play soccer, things like that. And so it was really just turned now into a refugee tent camp, if you can imagine that. The first impression that I had when I walked or went through that, I thought, this is what, if you ever imagine maybe walking through some areas in Houston or areas in Dallas where homeless people have just kind of set up a tent, if anything, a tarp or something, and just kind of living off the street. And so here we had families just living off the street right across the border, waiting for their court dates now, instead of being with their families here. And so as they stay there, they they don't have anything. And so then a lot of the things that, as you have also as well donated and be part of, we were able to help with tents and air mattresses, and again clothes and shoes, and food for them to be able to eat, water, because that's something that's really was not provided at that time for them. And so, several agencies and we networked together, churches and other ministries, to be able to make this happen and be able to seek their immediate needs. Because one thing that I personally didn't want for them was to become desperate and to find themselves in a situation even worse than maybe what they were in. And so then, our hopes was to be able to provide that for them. And so then as we did so, and as we spoke to them, as time progressed, they thought this was going to be something, again, maybe short, for a short period of time. But what ended up happening was that because the change of law happened, the court dates just extended. And so several of them have been there for 6 months or a year even. And so then as we speak to families living there, they created an order of the way they do things. So they have a leader that represents each one of the countries. And then that leader speaks out of, these are our needs, for the people that are there. And so like that, we know exactly what may be needed, what they've already received. And things change constantly. We know that flexibility during missions is so key and important. Well, in this case, it's almost being fluent, because flexibility at some point breaks too. So then, being fluent, being able to just really hear God's voice in where we're at, and be prayerful, because we need to be sensitive to his word and to really understand the needs that are happening. So as we speak to families living there, we constantly hear from them what is their needs. And one of them has really been the number one need, which is their spiritual need. You would think, well, they're in a situation where I would first ask for water and food for my child. Well, yes, that's true. And we do, we do our best to be able to provide it. Not always do we have enough, but we do our best. But, knowing that their spiritual need is great. We've been able to worship with them. We've been able to do discipleship with them. We've been able to, provide New Testaments and Bibles to some of the adults that are able to, share it with their children. And so we need your help. We need your help to be able to, share with them the hope of Christ. Because at this point, when you're sitting in a tent for 6 to a year, hope is almost gone. And so they really do need to hear, what God has to say to their lives and speak to them. Continue praying for the moms and dads that are like Mary. They've made different decisions, hard decisions for their children, pray for the leadership leading the center, for law enforcement, for those that are keeping our borders, for the government officials, decisions that need to be made. They're not easy, but we need to continue praying for that. Thank you for all that you have done. We still have a lot to do. Be prayerful about what and how the ways that your church or you yourself may be able to do that. I want to talk to you also about the hygiene kits. I know that several of the churches, even like GAs and other groups, have prepared these hygiene kits for us. They've been a blessing, let me tell you. I want to tell you about Dr. Gloria de la Peña. I have a lot of favorite people, and the missionaries that serve with River Ministry, I mean, they're wonderful people. If you get to know each one of them, it would be hard to decide where or whom to serve with. But Dr. Gloria de la Peña serves in Piedras Negras, also as River Ministry Medical Missionary, serving the churches in different capacities. She also serves alongside a special needs orphanage in Piedras Negras. The orphanage is very unique because there's not a lot of orphanages like this, and needless to say, it's probably one of the best there in Piedras in regards to for special needs. The pastor that is there as the director of the orphanage was not, or at some point in his life, I guess, didn't know that he was going to be leading a ministry such as like this. He was not equipped. He was not, it was not something that he, God called him to do. And so then he really struggled at first. But God called him, and he is ministering, and he's been there for several years now. And as he ministers to the children, as Gloria visits them, and as they provide their everyday need, we see how God is really just touching their lives. One of the days we were visiting the orphanage with the mission team, and as several of the ladies sang "Jesus Loves Me, This I Know" with them, one of the men walked towards the back of the building. And so I kind of followed towards where he was heading to. I was there, I was serving as a translator actually. And so, as I head over to the back, he comes back and he says, "Pastor, I don't see, or at least I see that you have a great need for a washing machine." He goes, "I don't know how you do it. You have so many children, so many kids here, adults here, and I don't know how you do that. How can I help you with that?" And Pastor says, he starts talking to him, and he says, the reason why we might not have the equipment we need is because our priorities are providing medicine, providing, clothes, providing cleaning supplies, providing food for the children. A washing machine was not on his top 10 things. It was down somewhere down the line, but it was a need. The man did go and he did provide that washing machine. But I want to share this with you because a lot of the times, we think of, well, we can send this item, but it's a daily need. And so how can you partner with them? Perhaps you can adopt one of these children. Perhaps you can adopt a child and be able to provide their daily needs. And like that, pastor can be able to focus in other areas of needs of the orphanage. Gloria has done a great job in taking the hygiene kits and providing and teaching and being able to look after the children, when she's able to. And one of the other things that she is so, her heart really pours into is the women's prison. And I can't imagine, I haven't yet visited, and I encourage those that are chaplains in prisons that perhaps one day can accompany her. I think it would be great. So what she does is that she goes to these women's prisons. And I don't know if you know this, but women who are pregnant or get pregnant while being in prison, they actually raise their child until they're in school age. And so when they finally get to school age, that's when the Child Protective Services takes them from their mom, takes them out of the prison, the cell, and puts them into like a foster care type program. And so then, at this point, Gloria is serving those women, is ministering to them, providing those hygiene kits. I didn't realize this, but I guess I never thought about this, but in Mexico, in that particular women's prison, I would imagine in others too, they don't provide anything. They don't provide blankets. They don't provide, much less shampoo or soap or anything like that. So all the hygiene kits that she's able to collect, it's so funny because any time that she's anywhere, she'll tell people, bring your toiletry from your hotel or whatever it is, even if it's a small little bottle. It doesn't matter, because for these women, it might be days before they even get anything. And so then Gloria, that is her way of using that to being able to touch their lives, be able to build relationships with them. And now she's started discipleship classes within the prison. And so it's amazing the work that she's doing there and in other areas. And so again, I want to encourage you, those hygiene kits have been a blessing, have been everywhere. They've been with refugee families, they've been to the women's prison, to the special needs children's, and then also in Nuevo Laredo with Gilberto Martinez. He's ministering to families who don't have the means for a warm meal during the day. So then he provides, or what we would call a comedor, a place where children and even adults can come and they can sit down, they can have a warm meal. And so then he has women who volunteer and provide these meals. So if you're a chef, if you know how to cook or love to cook, we would love to have you with us in Nuevo Laredo to be able to help with that. And not just with that, but also with other ministries that he has going on with refugees. And like Dr. Gloria de la Peña, there are also other River Ministry medical missionaries, and one of them is Dr. Guillermo Lozano, who serves as the medical missionary in Matamoros. And he provides also clinics for refugee families. He provides, he helps church starts that are happening along the city, being able to go and be able to touch lives, be able to offer a free clinic and offer medicine for those that have a need for that, and be able to just really impact their lives. So not just only do the medical part of it, but really transform their lives by sharing the gospel. And so as he does that, he partners with new church starts as they are breaking ground, as they are, building those new relationships with the families. And so it's so important and key to be able to do that. And so then as they do that, he is constantly in need of medicine. One time I remember we were on a mission trip to Oaxaca. It was my first time in Oaxaca. And so it was very unique, very different to see the different people's groups that were located there. And so as we were doing a free clinic and people were coming in and they kind of we did all these little different stations, and Dr. Lozano with other doctors were seeing patients, they were seeing their medical needs. And then here I was, sitting kind of like a little corner somewhere, a quiet area, because after the patient would go through the medical examination or moment with him or whatever, they would come to me, and then we would be able to evangelize and just share the gospel with them and pray for them if that was the case. And so I'm sitting there and nothing's happening. I'm waiting and I'm still waiting, and for some reason they just never got to me. So I finally decide I'm gonna go and I'm gonna search what is going on. And I go and I take a peek where Dr. Lozano is working at with the families. And sure enough, I walk in and he is finishing praying with the family. He not only had seen them, their medical needs, but he had counseled them. He had led them to Christ. And so he was praying with them. When you allow God to use you, he does amazing things through you. And if as you are ministering and you're doing something, and we know that, at that moment, it's a divine appointment, God has said, we don't want to lose. We don't want to lose that. We want to be able to do that. And we want others like Dr. Guillermo Lozano just the same, be able to share and do this, holistic meeting these holistic needs in the community, not just the medical, the physical, the emotional, but also the spiritual need. That's very important. And so thank you for being part of that. Thank you for praying for him. Thank you for praying for the different medical teams that come to the Valley and do the counseling, that do the dental or medical. So I decided that I would sit still. God had a plan. And when you allow him to use you, incredible things happen. He's the only one that can transform lives. Continue praying for the missionaries as they minister to families. During the midst of this pandemic, we continue to learn to depend on him. Verse in Isaiah 41:10, it's one of my favorites, I think. It says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Our mission continues to share his love, even through the pandemic. Since pandemic started, ministry work has changed for us. It's not been, I think, easy for any of us. It's just kind of going along with what God has for us. And one of the hardest things was to stay still, especially at first, as we didn't know what to expect. It was difficult because we know we're constantly around people. We're constantly around in the community. We're with churches and visiting pastors and leadership. And to just kind of almost say, wait, Vanessa, take a seat. You have to hold, you have to wait. Let's see what happens. And so that was not easy. It was hard, but I realized at that time that really God needed for us to focus and start being maybe more creative in how we were doing ministry with families. One of the hardest things, like I said, was that, especially at first, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow and what changes, or perhaps, how was the reaction of others was going to be, and so a number of positive cases kept increasing. Families are struggling financially because of lack of work. Kids are at home, border crossing regulations changing, immigration family court dates keep getting pushed back. Families are scared and restless. Isaiah 41:10 reminds me that he is with us. He is our God. He will strengthen us, help us, and we are in his hand. They need to hear the good news. They need him. They need his love and hope and peace that only he can give us. And that has taken us to be creative as we continue to do ministry to others. So Pastor Graciano Castañeda, who is River Ministry Missionary in the Rio Grande Valley, his church, along with other churches, have created this drive-through food pantry. I'm sure that maybe your church has done that too, or you've seen other churches doing it. Churches have continued to serve their communities in times like this, for example, through the drive-through food pantry ministry. It's a little different. Instead of making line like you normally would, normally in our food pantry ministry, what you would see was somebody sharing the gospel, somebody praying for the families, and there'd be more of the one-on-one type ministry being done. And so then, as they now don't make line, but instead they're making line with their car. But guess what? They still need the contact with you. They still need contact with somebody. They desire that. And so then they roll down their window, and we're able to still be able to pray for them, be able to share the gospel with them and pass out tracts as we do so. And so then Pastor Graciano has been able to do the drive-through food pantry ministry, and he has been serving 5 different communities along with other churches. And in these 5 different communities, just within a month, they've distributed more than 3,000 food boxes. And so he needs your prayer. He needs your help. Please let us know how you are able to help, perhaps with a food box or tracts or Bibles that you can share with them. Perhaps you'd like to come down and be able to help out in that food distribution. One other of the things that has been a little bit different since the pandemic started was the virtual trainings and prayer groups. As you might imagine, we're not able to do trainings like we were doing before. And so then, but we're still doing trainings. We are doing them virtually now. And so then where we're able to maybe connect a mission team with a local church or vice versa, and they're able to still continue with the training and being able to be of encouragement to one another and mentor each other. And so in doing so, we've also done a prayer group. So Silvia Briones in Houston area has created this prayer group where more than 100 women have joined together this prayer from all different parts of the country, or not just Texas, the country, but also other countries. And so it's really interesting to see all these women coming together and being able to take the same time, same day, and just say, we're going to take this time to pray for you, pray for those that are sick because of the, COVID, being able to pray for you, for the family, for your grieving time, or for just simply needs that are going on in the community. And so if you want to join, let us know. We can help you start that. We can help you start a prayer group, even within your church or maybe with other churches alongside them, to be able to create that strong partnership that perhaps, we've been working on. And with this pandemic, there's been a time of a pause even, but we can still continue praying for each other and partnering that way. Abraham Cervantes in Monterrey can help you connect with churches in Mexico. If you like to share some of the training materials that you might have in your church or resources that you have that you might be able to mail to them. Another thing that has been just a great blessing. Remember I talked about Tijuana and Baja California, that being a new ministry, opportunity for us. And so then there's a pastor that is there who he is a church planter, and he has started an organic church there. As you know, churches are not necessarily all opening again, but instead he has started these organic churches in his area. So small groups can meet at homes and can share and continue ministering, can continue doing discipleship within their community. And so some of the things that they are in need of is a church starting kit. And so that kit helps them by providing tables, chairs, Bibles, and so forth. And he is able to encourage others to be able to do this the same, as well. And not just in Baja California or Tijuana, but also in other areas, church starting continues. And so we want to partner with these areas, especially these new works, that we can be able to strengthen them so they can grow healthy to become healthy churches. Refugee ministry continues. As you know, laws have changed. Families are still waiting because through this pandemic, everything is at halt. The court dates, everything is paused. Nothing is happening. They're still having to wait. Pray for them. Continue praying for their needs. Pray that in the midst of this, we can share God's hope and love. Pray for the body of Christ so we can boldly and efficiently share the hope of Christ, that we may minister and build relationships with the families. Pray for the families so their needs may be met. Many are unemployed, barely getting back to work, but continue to struggle financially. Pray for the children's safety at home. Pray for the immigrant families waiting for their court dates, as I mentioned before. Pray for the government officials and front lines for strength and wisdom. For the sick, for the family as we continue to minister to others. Pray for other missionaries that continue also serving in their areas. I want to share with you ways of, and just kind of go through a little bit of ways that you can partner with us, ways of how you can come alongside and do ministry along the border. And some of them I've mentioned. For example, the hygiene kits, they can be made at your church. At your home. They may be able to be delivered or you might be able to ship them to the different areas of ministry. You would be helping refugee families. You would be helping the medical patients, the special needs and orphanage, women's prison families, families in poor areas. All these hygiene kits will have a destination. And so then if you are, you felt led, to be able to help us with this, do so. You might be able, like I said, doing it in your home or in your church with a small group. Let us know how we can help you know what things need to go into that hygiene kit. Organic church starts, they're in need of these church starting kits that in combination will help that family. You can imagine having a small group in your home, maybe once in a while, maybe for dinner, but when you're having church in this sense, because we are the church. I mean, we don't need to be in a building necessarily. That's kind of strange to think about almost, But I think this has really just really helped us in the perspective of, if we are the church and we are at home and we have those around us that need to hear him, what do we need to do? And so then helping these pastors, these church starters, being able to provide these resources will help others be able to open their doors in their home and be able to help families, providing them with, with God's love and his hope and discipleship. That's what we, he commanded us to do. Donations for immigrant families to meet their immediate needs. A list can be provided. I can tell you right now, tents, tarps, undergarments, soap, laundry detergent, the powder type, or maybe cooking utensils, because they're having to build their own little kitchenettes, if you can imagine, out of wood and mud. And so they put them together. And so, they're cooking out there, but they don't necessarily all have cooking utensils. So they also need that. They need food. Rice, beans is very common. So that's something that we can, take to them. I do want to say something that because of the regulations that are changing every day along our border, sometimes it becomes difficult to to take things across from the stateside. So if you're able to do a monetary donation, do so. We can buy the things in Mexico. We can provide that to the families and not worry about having to take them across. And, we may be able to help others more, perhaps even that way. But again, we want to encourage you to give each one of us a call and find out exactly what are the needs, at that time, and we can plan together regarding that. Sponsoring pastoral families by providing funds. Our churches in our stateside, our pastors may still be receiving their salary, even though the church is closed, perhaps for the time being, not closed, but just not providing services where families are coming in to church. But, pastors in Mexico, a lot of them are not receiving salaries. If anything, they're receiving a very small portion of it. And that's if they're receiving anything. And so they're struggling. So if the pastoral family is struggling, how can they focus or be able to minister and love others when they're not able to provide for their own families? So I encourage you, help us with this. We can maybe do a matching grant or something that we can connect churches and partner and sponsor pastoral families so they can be able to provide for their family, their needs, and then be able to, feel that that connection and be able to go to their communities, be able to focus in ministering because they have already ministered at home with their families. And help us do that. It's important. They're struggling financially. And I know that they wouldn't come out and ask, but I can. And so please, consider that. It's important. The monetary donations, like I mentioned, they are able to help. We are able to, some of the things that we can't cross the border because of those regulations changing, we're able to buy in Mexico. And that includes, the food items, that includes clothing and shoes and things like that. I mean, you can think of almost, pretty much like anything, we may be able to find it there. And so let us know how we can help you. Let us know how we can answer any of your questions. We would love to spend some time and be able to talk a little bit more about them. I know this is kind of short, but I really want to spend that time with you and be able to share a little bit more of what God is doing in our areas. And I know that the different River Ministry missionaries would love to speak to you as well and just kind of share what God is doing in their lives as well. I want to encourage you to continue praying for us as we learn to the new norm maybe, or to know how to continue being creative in being able to share God's love and being able to minister to families. They're going through a lot of anxiety, a lot of fears, and you know that. I'm sure you've heard families around you. They're grieving a loss maybe. I want you to also find time, and I know maybe this is a lot to ask, but to encourage our River Ministry missionaries and maybe send a prayer card, maybe send a thank you card, maybe just say, thinking about you today, It's important because, as we are ministering families and so forth, we don't want to feel overwhelmed and find ourselves like, where we're not able to say anymore to to those that are in need. We want to be able to continue counseling them. We want to be able to minister to them. We want to be able to provide their needs. We want to be able to share God's word. But I know that it's, God providing them, through us, through you, to be able to provide these things. And so thank you for your donations for Mary Hill Davis Missions Offering. You have no idea the impact that it makes. And lives are changing. Lives are being transformed first of all, because of him, for his glory. But through your Mary Hill Davis Missions Offering, you're making an impact. You're making a difference. And thank you for that. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support as we continue to together do ministry along the border. Please feel free to contact us at the River Ministry Mexico Missions Office in the Dallas office with Texas Baptist if you have any questions, or if you'd like to know more about any of these ministries. We continue praying for you. We love you, and we want to be able to see you again along our border doing ministry alongside be blessed to bless others. Thank you so much.
That was some great information. Thank you so much. I'm pleased to be joined by Vanessa Lerma, and she's the River Ministry missionary with the Rio Grande Valley, and Mario Alberto Gonzalez, the director of our River Ministry Mexico Missions, Texas Baptist. So welcome, Vanessa and Mario. As a reminder to our attendees, you are welcome to type in your questions by using the Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom screen. We've already had several questions already come in, but continue to add those in and we'll try to answer as many of those as possible. Well, so we have lots of questions and we're just going to start rocking and rolling here. Lots of questions about volunteering and how folks can be a part of medical teams that go to Mexico, if internships are available, and then if you have dates and information like that, that people want to be a part of that.
Great. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you for your time, and so glad to be here with you all, and that you took the time to be able to listen more about the ministry needs along the border. We do have several medical missionaries that are serving in the interior of Mexico along the border as well, and we can put you in contact with them so we can talk more about specific dates that they would be available to be able to do these medical clinics. Other ways that you can also be part of that is if you're unable to come, but you're in the medical field, we can do the medical virtual clinics and be part of that. And on the video, you saw several of them doing the medical clinics. And so we can do that in person, or if we need to do that virtually. So we would love to talk to you more. I think I saw that Joel Cavazos put that on there. If you would put your email or send us an email, and then we can go ahead and let you know more details on that. Regarding,
you can probably give them the information on how to be in touch with the River Ministry office. They probably keep up with a lot of that information also.
Yes, I would like you to ask that question or send the information to my email, marioalberto.gonzalez@txb.org. And we can elaborate a little more about that. In talking about the physicians, last week we were, me and my wife, to an encampment, and a lady from Mexico, he used to be a physician there in Mexico. She has no opportunity to practice that career here in the United States, but he's more than willing to go back to Mexico and help in that way. So maybe there are a lot of people like physicians, dentists, nurses, etc., that would like to participate from different countries from Central America. Let me let you know that if you are from Latin America, in Mexico, you are allowed to use your career. Not here in the United States if you don't have the license, but in Mexico, we can use you. So call me. My phone number is 214-505-8324, but you can send me also an email, marioalberto.gonzalez@txb.org.
That's some good information. One of the questions specifically asked about internships. Is that something that folks that maybe summer intern or something like that might be available for them?
Brother Mario, could you?
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. Yes, we can work together with the missions team to put together an internship or something like that. Mostly of the missionary trips, they are last about 2-3 days, or maybe 1 day only. But if you would like to do something like that, we have never done something like that before, but we can, we need to be more creative, especially during this pandemic time. So write me an email and we can discuss that later on.
So a couple of the questions revolved around skill set. And so, and then I guess I would add to that, does everyone that comes to maybe work along the border or even go into the Mexico side, do they have to have Spanish language skills? And then what kind of skills do they need to have other than a willing heart and moving feet?
Regarding skills, I mean, this is like numerous. People that can do life coaching, can do counseling, that can come in and do construction. Still, families from Hurricane Hannah, for example, in the valley, are still struggling because their roof is still needing to be reshingled. Houses inside got damaged because of the water, so sheetrock needs to be set up. So skills are so numerous, really, that if you have a caring heart and want to be able to share the time, yes, we would love for you to be here.
Vanessa, let me mention something else. If you speak, the Shakespeare language, don't worry, because we have some bilingual people working along the border. Vanessa is one of these very bilingual lady, so we can help you by translating to the heavenly language, Spanish. I'm just kidding.
And Vanessa, if you'll just kind of elaborate, as you were going through your presentation, you talked about hygiene kits. You talked about different ways that people can help. And I could see like a GA group, putting together hygiene kits. But I think we need to also emphasize, not only because of where we are with the COVID now, that it may be easier for folks to just do monetary donations. Not that you would not want to receive those other types of things, but you might just want to elaborate a little bit of how people, if they want to do something in action, how can they do that? If, raise money or what would be some good ways that they could do that would be practical and helpful?
Right. So talking about, like, we had a group of GAs that put together some hygiene kits several months ago and were sent to us. They included a couple of things for children to use, like coloring books and so forth. And regarding the monetary donations, I had a group approach me and say, we collect coins for 3 months, for like a quarter. And after that quarter ends, then we put them together and just make a check out of whatever amount that they were able to collect. So something like that children, like in the case of the GAs, that they can do is something very practical that somebody can help with. And it'd be an individual offering, or it could be a combined, maybe as a church, as a women's ministry, or as a church, would like to give an offering. Yeah. They can go ahead and there's just been various ways. There's been individuals that might do a garage sale and use that, for mission. So there's various ways. And then they can send that to River Ministry, and Brother Mario can give more information on where they can be sent to.
So a good train of thought would be, before someone decided to collect something to send, it might be best for them to reach out to Brother Mario to see if that's something that can be brought across the board, if it's a practical thing.
Yes,
otherwise.
Definitely.
And we know that our cooperative program dollars and our Mary Hill Davis offering helps support a lot of that. So that's a great way also to give through cooperative program to River Ministry and through the Mary Hill Davis offering. A lot of those funds do help support River Ministry.
That's correct.
Do you want to add to that?
Yes, I would like to mention this. We have some information written and materials like this, hygiene kits, like this, to create a garden, community garden kit, Vacation Bible School. We have a bunch of information. If you request something like this, we can send it. So go ahead and send me an email. We can give you more instructions. Let me give you an example. There are some churches, they work through the Sunday school with the kids, and they put together hygiene kits for kids, for children, but they send it directly to our office. That is gonna be a little more difficult because you're paying for the handle and shipping, and we have to do that again. So we're double paying for the same thing. So if you make contact with us before, we can give you instructions, on what to do and what is the best thing for us to save money and time.
Can you show us those handouts one more time, a little bit slower?
Let me start with the first one. Like this one in here is how to create a hygiene kits. It's kits for kids or for adult people. A moment ago, Vanessa, she was talking about Hermana de La Peña in Piedras Negras. She's also visiting a prison for women. And there, we need a specific kind of things that are allowed to be, to enter into the prison. So that's why you need to make contact with us before making all this kind of stuff. This is a high-end kit. And we have also the community garden start kit. This is something like this. And of course, you're not going to be able to read it right now. It's just an example. It's very simple to read, but it's something that you can request to have a vacation Bible school kit. Let me mention this. In Mexico, even with the pandemic, a lot of kids, they are praying outside in the streets. So we can bring together 4 or 5 kids in one corner, saving the social distance, of course, using the mask, etc. So we can minister to these people living or working or doing something in the street. That's one idea. Evangelistic soccer balls. We need to buy some of these balls in order for us to provide, like in Guadalajara, Mexico, or El Bajío. They love football, soccer. And even if they don't believe in God, they believe in football. So they come and attend one of these trainings. As a matter of fact, if you're an expert, as a coach or something like that you would like to come and work with us, we can work together. By the way, you don't need to come and drive all the way to Mexico City or Guadalajara, because we can use a Zoom or the technology to have a training. Even if you don't speak Spanish, we can use one of our translators for a coach, for a physician, for a dentist, for a pastor, giving a pastoral care to the pastors there in Mexico, a teacher, computer savvy or whatever. We can use your expertise, your skills. So let me know, call me or send me an email, and we work together to help our people in the border, in Texas, in Mexico, and beyond.
And Ms. Gloria on your staff reminded us that you can find the 5 River Ministry kits on the River Ministry website at txb.org/River Ministry. So that those kits that Brother Mario is talking about can be found on the River Ministry website, txb.org/River Ministry. Well, folks, we're coming close to the end of our time. And so I just wanted to let you have a couple of final words. So Brother Mario, Miss Vanessa, why don't you go first? Why don't you give us a little wrap up of things? Anything you want to share with us?
I want to ask you that you continue praying for us and that you continue to serve along the border. I know there's circumstances that sometimes come, but there are so many different opportunities for you to be a part of. And we want to be able to come alongside you and be able to minister to our families and our communities. Continue praying for our leaders and our missionaries as well.
Okay. Listen, we have 42 missionaries, River Ministry missionaries, along the border and also down in Mexico. So don't hesitate to call me. We can send one of the missionaries or myself visiting your church or your organization or the Baptist Association. We can do something like that and find out opportunities together. So thank you for helping us. And those who are sending through the Cooperative Program or the Murray Hill Davis offering, thank you. May our Lord bless your hearts and your ministries and your churches.
Thank you.
Brother Mario, give us your email address and spell it out for us so we make sure we've got that one more time.
Of course. Mario, you know Mario because of the Super Mario Nintendo's game. Mario Alberto is ALVERTO and then period or point dot, I'm sorry, Gonzalez, ending with the Z like in Zorro, GONZALEZ at txb.org, tx.org. Is that clear?
Mario, you have to have the Alberto in there. Mario Alberto.Gonzalez at txb.org. Well, Vanessa, Mario, thank you so much for all of this information. Wow. I had no idea that the children that are born to women in prison actually stay with their children until they start school. That was an eye-opening piece of information, and there's so many opportunities for us to partner with the River Ministry and just be the hands and feet of God. So thank you, and everything that you're doing, thank you so much, how you're impacting so many lives. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want to remind folks again that each Tuesday up until annual meeting, we will premiere new workshops. The final workshop will premiere on Tuesday, November 17th at 2 o'clock. And a reminder for folks, because a couple folks asked about this, workshop was recorded and you can view it on demand. It should be available by Saturday, if not by Monday, if you go to the txb.org/AM. Again, you can get this recording on demand by going to txb.org/AM. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Brother Marco. Thank you for everyone that attended. I hope you have a great afternoon.